When I first saw this figure, I was questioning it because it's big, but I'm told it's the right one. Used car sales exceeding 11.2 billion rand last month. AutoTrader's monthly used car sales data showing a total of 38,884 used cars were sold in the country in November. Slightly below October's numbers, but both of those numbers are fairly high. This is always a good gauge of the South African economy. George Minnie is with us, the Chief Executive Officer of AutoTrader. Let's just pick up on that figure of 11.2 billion rand. Initially, George, I didn't believe it. It's true.
It's true, yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's north of that. And the reason I think it's north of that is because AutoTrader sees about 80 to 85% of the market. So it's a good proxy for the used car market. But so, you know, given that we see 80 to 85% of the market, I think it's actually higher than that.
And the reason is obvious, I suppose. But tell me what it is anyway. Why have we seen this dramatic increase?
Well, you know, used car sales towards the end of the year does escalate. And we see that in the data. The two big months of the year are usually October and January. So we see another spike in January again.
Why is that? Christmas bonus time, or?
I think it's a whole bunch of things, but largely because the perception of the car buying consumer is that we've now crossed the cusp of the year, and used car prices might have come down. And that's not always the case, because as demand goes up, prices actually go up. They don't come down. So that could be one of the major factors. People come back with New Year's resolutions, new ideas for the year. So January's a big month. October's also a big month. But what we've seen in November, though, is a month that is 38,800, as you see, whereas we've been seeing numbers of about 33,000 during the course of the year.
I made the point when we started our conversation that this is an excellent barometer of the economy. What it's also telling me is people are eschewing new cars in favor of used cars simply because of affordability.
Well, it's a sign of the economy. You know, we see when the economy is in a tough place, used car sales are more buoyant than new car, and we're seeing declining new car sales. I mean, that's evident, and used car sales we're seeing are, besides the number in November, are roughly flat. So, you know, when we see flat numbers in used car, for me that's a good thing in a declining economy, because it means that there's a swing to used.
So let's look at the top 10 sold cars. No surprises with number one, Volkswagen Polo. That's always a perennial, isn't it?
Yeah. So what's interesting is
in fact, one and two.
One and two. But if you look at the number of searches people do, BMW tops the list in terms of searches, but in terms of sales, VW tops the list. So there could be a bit of aspiration there in people coming to AutoTrader and searching for BMWs and then ending up buying a VW. But VW, and especially the Polo Vivo, has been a winner for a long time.
What about Bucky's? I see position 3 and 4, the Ranger and the Hilux. I mean, again, a hardy annual as far as South Africans are concerned.
Well, Bucky's, I mean, we often refer to South Africa as being a Bucky nation, so it's not surprising that Ford and Toyota are on the top 10 list in terms of Bucky's, particularly 4x4 double cabs. You know, and that's a bit of a sign that people want a utility vehicle that they can do different things with. You know, they've got a car, they've got a Bucky, they've got a 4-seater or a 5-seater, and it's versatile.
I want to get to some of the golden nuggets in just a moment in this report, where you talk to us about favourite colours. But if this is a time where people are looking at buying a vehicle, they're looking at the used car market, as you're saying, how do you go about it? It's often got a... It's got a tainted reputation, if I can put it that way.
I think it's got an unfairly tainted reputation. You know, from my experience in this market for the last 16 years, it's the small minority that give the industry or the dealership market a bad name. There are more good dealers out there than there are bad dealers. I'm not saying that there aren't those unscrupulous ones, but you know, the data shows us that by and large the used car market and the dealers, if you do your homework, you don't have to get done in.
What colours do we like?
White.
Yeah?
White.
I would have thought black and silver.
Well, if you look at the search data in this report, and by the way, if you want to download this report, it's reports.autotrader.co.za/industry, and you can get your hands on it.
Okay, so white is the most searched colour.
Is the most searched colour. 1.1 million searches for white, whereas only 10%, roughly just over 10%, at 173,000 for black.
And then the rest, silver and white and blue. Yeah. What about electric and hybrid cars? I mean, there's been such a push towards that. Are we embracing this trend? Are we eco-conscious when it comes to cars?
I think three things there. The first is we're seeing searches of electric cars that don't exist. So when somebody types in a search on AutoTrader, we find that people are searching for cars that aren't here, which then tells me there is a demand for those cars. Secondly, there is infrastructure. People don't know that there's infrastructure. There's a charging station on every major highway in South Africa every 200 kilometers. So the infrastructure is there. It's not the best infrastructure, and we need to upgrade it, but the trouble is the cars aren't here.
And just a final one, we're going into a tough year. We're talking about load shedding having a possible impact on the ratings downgrades, perhaps leading to a recession. What's the forecast for the auto market going forward, do you think? Is 2020 going to be tougher than this year?
Well, I mean, I don't have a crystal ball, so I never like to predict the future. But
that's because we'll come back and hound you when you get it wrong.
Exactly. So, but my sense is that 2020 is going to be a little bit of the same. We're going to see the used car market continue to be the driver, and that's just because we are a car consumer economy, because we have to drive. We've got big open spaces, and we have to use cars to get places. We don't have a massive transport infrastructure like the UK or America. So I think it's going to be more of the same. Used cars are going to be buoyant, and we're going to see new cars under pressure.
All right, fascinating insight. If you want to look at it, you can download this. Yes. It's called the AutoTrader Car Industry Report. There we go, there's the camera. And George Minnie, thank you very much for joining us today, as more and more South Africans are looking for white vehicles. It's interesting.